Welcome everyone to the Focus TV. It's another week. Happy to be here with you all. We got Cardo Dudley Jr., Raymond Lyons, Malik Miller, Wilson Tarbay Jr. When to get to it. Got a lot to get to this week as always. Octavia's not here, so I'm gonna step in with the NFC East action this week. Let me go ahead and get up there. Gonna start with the Commanders. So Commanders fans, I apologize. I'm just sharing the news of what happened. It's not my fault. We'll start things off. Again, they fell with the Commanders. They fell to the Falcons 34-27. Atlanta did most of their damage in the first and third quarters, led by QB Michael Penix. He had a career-high 313 yards, going 20 of 26 with 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. The Falcons amassed a season-high 435 yards on the offensive side of the ball. Bijan Robinson had 181 yards for scrimmage. Drake London added 8 catches for 110 yards. And we just saw their offense. I told you about that 435 yards. They seem to finally get out of the pistol a little bit, which has been a lot of analysts, a lot of folks knock on their offense. They've been in the pistols, been predictable, and offense just hasn't been working. It hasn't been that effective for a team that has a lot of young and capable playmakers. And we saw that change in this game. Marcus Mariota continued to fill in for Jaden Daniels for the second consecutive game. He was 16-27 with 156 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Debo had 6 catches for 72 yards and a touchdown. The Commanders fell to 2-2 on the season with their loss. They're now 0-2 on the road. Washington will face the Chargers on the road this coming week. We'll talk about the Chargers a little bit later with another team in the NFC East. The Giants, they had a wild Sunday. They got their first win of the season. Also came in Jackson Dart's debut. They beat those Chargers 21-18. However, they had some bad news in the second quarter. MetLife turf struck again. They lost star wide receiver Malik Neighbors. Before I continue, whatever y'all remember what happened in the Christian Bale Batman trilogy when they blew up their stadium. That needs to happen to MetLife. Start over. They keep it. Just too many players keep getting injured there, man. At some point, it's like you're hurting your own investments. It literally doesn't make any sense. Every year, they have a list of players that their turf takes out for the season. It looks like Malik Neighbors is one of the latest and has to be crazy. It's crazy when other teams are losing players. Your own players you're losing because of your negligence to just play on grass, knowing that there's a little bit more give. The grass is absurd, but that's the NFL's decision, and that's what they want to do. But I'm sick of saying this every year at MetLife. We see this. It's usually 5 to 6 players a year, man. It just doesn't make any sense. Dart went 13-20 for 111 yards, and he carried the ball for 54 yards on 10 carries. The Giants' defensive front, man, that's what really happened. That's what really stole the show in this when it came alive. You seen the picture. Brian Burns got to do the Spider-Man celebration after one of the 2 sacks the team got on this day. They did have 12 QB hits, so they were on Justin Herbert's neck the entire game. Burns and Thibodeau had those 2 sacks. The Giants' defense as a whole, they gave up rushing yards, but they held the passing attack in check. They surrendered just 203 yards in the air, 5 yards of play, while pulling in 2 interceptions. That's 2 interceptions, 2 sacks, and you held a passing offense in 2025 with 5 yards of play. It's not bad. Obviously, you would have loved to see them tighten things up a little bit on the ground, but they got their first one of the year, and the Giants will be on the road next week to face the New Orleans Saints. The Eagles, they just keep finding a way. All 3 phases continue to play a role in each and every one of their wins this season. Once again, the special teams unit changed the game. They started things off in this one with Cameron Latu blocked the punt. Sidney Brown picked it up and ran it in 35 yards to open the scoring. The Eagles built a lead of 31-13 at one point. That was midway through the third quarter. And that came with a nice wrinkle. We already know with the Eagles, if it's 3rd and short, 4th and short, you guys know that's tush push time. The Eagles with a nice little wrinkle. Everybody got prepared for the tush push. Instead, Jalen Hurts got the ball, just turned around and gave it to Saquon Barkley. And it's Saquon Barkley and nobody paying attention to him. He scored. That's how that play worked out. But the Bucks responded really quickly. They cut that lead to 31-23 early in the fourth. Baker Mayfield connected with Bucky Irvin to get that done. The Eagle defense did just enough to hold on for the win. Jalen Hurts was 15-24 for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns in the air. He also ran for 62 yards on 9 carries. The Eagles' passing game has still yet to break out, but they're continuing to win. Bucky Irving, Tampa Bay's running back, dynamic running back, and then rookie Emeka Egbuka had big days for the Bucks, both going over 100 yards in the air with a score each. It was just the Buccaneers' first loss of the season. They were missing some folks. You think of the Bucks. Mike Evans, one of the first names to pop up. He's out right now with an injury. I know they're looking forward to getting him back. The Eagles will host the Denver Broncos next Sunday. They are now 2-0 on the road. And again, they found a way to remain undefeated. So you got to give them credit for doing that, man. I don't know how many people expected this particular outcome. I think a lot of folks thought Green Bay was going to saunter into Dallas, put hands on them, walk out. Apparently, the Dallas Cowboys had some pride. And Green Bay, I don't even know what to think about you at the moment that this happened. Your defense was not supposed to be capable of doing this. And instead, we saw a 40-40 tie in Micah Parsons' return to Dallas. Each team scored a field goal in overtime. We saw Dak Prescott and Jordan Love throw 3 touchdowns each in regulation. No interceptions. That's back-to-back overtime games for the Cowboys. 2 weeks ago, we saw them hold on to beat the Giants 40-37. And I think that was Russell Wilson at the helm for the Giants during that game. This wound up being the second highest scoring tie in pro football history. So I guess there's a positive in that. Some history was made. Prescott and Love would go 31-40 and then 31-43 passing the ball. Respectively, that's outstanding numbers. Again, 3 touchdowns each, no interceptions. And it wasn't like the defenses weren't trying. These quarterbacks were just handling their business. Josh Jacobs had 86 yards and 2 touchdowns on 22 carries, while Javonte Williams had 20 carries for 85 yards and 1 touchdown for the Cowboys. George Pickens led all receivers with 8 catches for 134 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game. The Packers are now 2-1-1 this year, while the Cowboys are 1-2-1. It's always weird when that third column, when you're talking about the NFL, has a number in it. And we'll see how these ties end up affecting both of these teams later on in the year, because if somebody misses out on seeding or home field, we're going to look back to week 4 when you tied with the Dallas Cowboys or you tied with the Green Bay Packers. So we'll see how that goes. Up next, the Cowboys will play the Jets on the road. Going to slide over to the WNBA playoff side of things. I know last week when we were talking, things changed quick. We were talking last week, the Mercury were down a game, and they were already down 1-0. And then in that second game, they were down 20 when we were wrapping up this show. We said, make sure you guys watch the end of that game as we closed out. And I hope you did watch the end of that game, because the Mercury clawed their way back into that game. They erased the 20-point deficit. They won that game, and then they went on to win the next 2 to take the series 3-1. 86-81 win in game 4. There was a lot of noise about a big play late in game 3 where Alyssa Thomas stole the ball from Nafisa Collier and took it in for a score. It was a great defensive fourth quarter for the Mercury in that game. 21-9. That's how they closed that game out. The Lynx were without Collier their game for a loss. Kelly McBride stepped up. She had 31 points. Courtney Williams added in 20. It wasn't enough as the Mercury closed the series out with another near triple-double from Alyssa Thomas. She had 23 points, 8 rebounds, and 10 assists. They got 21 points and 6 rebounds from Satsu Sabali, while Kalea Copper and DeWanna Bonner added 13 apiece. I just want to get you guys' thoughts on the Mercury fighting out of a 1-0 hole to win 3 straight and take the series. Cardell, we'll start with you, then Ray and Malik.
Yeah, it was a hard-fought series. It was very close. If you could look at the overall stats from the series, and they go hand in hand. They fluctuate between who had a slight lead, but they were all slight leads across the board through all the categories. But Phoenix was just a tougher team, and they shot slightly better from 3 throughout the series. And to me, that was the difference in the series. That game 2, you just brought it up. when they gave up that 20-point lead, that made Mercury believe they can win. And I think that also shocked the Lynx because they don't normally give up leads like that. And I think that just really messed with their psyche. And once, look, it's already a handful to deal with Alyssa Thomas and Sabali. And Sabali is very similar to Alyssa Thomas. She just don't, she has physical attributes, but just not at the level of Alyssa Thomas. And for people that don't understand why the ladies say this, not media, not fans, the actual opponents say this about Alyssa Thomas, that she's like LeBron of the WNBA. If you watch games in the series, you should understand. Physically, she's just on another level. The Lynx were bouncing off of her left and right in every aspect of the game. When she was getting rebounds, when she was taking the coast to coast on defense, getting around screens, setting screens. The physicality from the Mercury was just at a different level, and the Lynx struggled to deal with it. Let's just call it what it is. There's a reason why they were complaining heavily throughout the series. And that normally when that happens, that tells you, unless it's something very glaring, something just, all right, we could see that something weird is going on, that usually means they're getting hit and they can't handle it. And that's kind of what you saw. And they were getting hit through basketball plays, not necessarily like flagrant fouls or whatnot. I know people were talking about the play where Fees buckled her knee and ankle when Alyssa Thomas went for the steal. That was just incidental contact. That was a clean steal. She read it right. Alyssa Thomas read it right. It was a clean steal. They just bumped. You know, they hit knees. It is what it is. Like I said, when you hit Alyssa Thomas, usually you go back. You go flying. And that's just how it is, man. She's a monster. And you know, Sabali's right there with her. I just think the three-point shooting and the physicality from the team overall, once they got in a rhythm and got that lead and won game 2, I think they just turned it up and the Lynx couldn't handle it. You know what I mean? And it wasn't just being physically tougher. I feel like the Mercury were also mentally tougher. And that's why they were able to win 3 games straight and, you know, take the series, man. And what I mean by the slight lead, slight advantage on three-point shooting, the Mercury didn't shoot it, but they shot 32% from deep, whereas the Lynx, they shot 29% from deep. I know a lot of people, when you think of the Mercury, you probably like maybe Sammy Whitcomb would lead the team in you know, three-point shooting, maybe DeWanna Bonner, you know, it's a host of players. Actually, in that series, Satu Sabali led the team in three-point shooting. She shot 37% from deep, even though she shot 41% from the field. So you got your 0.4 point center, depending on, you know, the play, depending on the lineup that they have in there, and she's shooting 37%. That's just a hell of a matchup nightmare because you already can't deal with Alyssa Thomas going coast to coast all the time. And by the way, she shot 51% throughout that series. She had her way. You already can't deal with her, but when you got Sabali bombing away, and then you got Kalea Copper shooting 44% from the field. She's an ultra athletic wing, and then you got Makani the Rook. She's shooting 36% from deep. You got a lot of players contributing in many ways where they just able to hit timely shots and make timely plays. And you know, the Lynx, man, they got on their heels and they couldn't recover. And once Fees went down, we all knew what it was. And you know, I give the Lynx credit. They could have laid down in that last game without having Fees and Kayla McBride, man. The performance she put on the road, you tip your hat to her, man. She put the team on her back, man. But the Mercury just won't be denied, man. And the Lynx can complain all they want about calls this, calls that. Were they complaining when the calls was going for them in game 1 or when they were up 20? So I don't want to hear it when it go the other way. You know what I mean? The refs ain't had nothing to do with turnovers. You missing shots. You not getting back on defense. You not executing on defense. When you allow a team to come back from 20 down in a playoff game, that's a sure read team. They don't do that. So, nah, we don't. You can't use that. You can't use that excuse, man. So, you know, you tip your hat to the Mercury. They balled out. They earned it, man. It's nothing you can really say. You know, you can try to nitpick all you want, but they got the job done, and they got a chance, man. And you know, especially for Alyssa, she's been close a couple times, and we saw her on one against the Messi, but just fell short. So this is a chance to try to get one, and so they're gonna be a tough out.
Right. Your thoughts on this on the Mercury making the finals by dispatching the Lynx?
Yeah, man, that was a impressive series win for them. Yeah, that game two was glaring. They looked dead in the water, and all of a sudden they flipped the switch, and then they made that a trend for the rest of the series. They were down big in each of the last three games, and they were able to come back and win. A big key for them was Satu waking up. She had a less than stellar performance in game one. She took a lot of heat for it, but kudos to her. She came back and went to work. Cardell pointed out 37% from three, which which gave them another dimension to their team. And then that opened the game up for her individually as well, where she was able to showcase her other skills and her versatility. But overall, defensively, I just think the Mercury, they definitely played harder and with more force than the Lynx. And now that just gave them extra chances, getting loose balls and things like that. And those little things add up. Like you said, if you look at numbers wise, this series was damn near neck and neck for the most part. It's just those little things throughout the course of a game that changes the outcome, and especially in the playoffs, where margin of error is razor thin, and the Mercury just did those little things to come out on top. And definitely shout out to the Lynx. I know this hurts, especially after the way their season ended last year, and then to kind of have that in sight again this year to try to get back to the promised land and fall short again, man. I can't imagine how that felt for them. I mean, you could tell in their post game for the final game, just the emotion that they showed. I mean, it sucks, but they left it out on the floor and gave everything they had, and especially in that last game without, with Fee going down, and then not having Dejanay for most of the series. That was a big loss for them as well, because she had been playing really well since she was added to the team. But yeah, it is what it is, man. The Mercury went out and owned that, and yeah, I guess they heard us on the show last week, because I think it was a clean sweep consensus about the Lynx moving on. Phoenix had other plans, and now they get a chance to play for a championship.
Malik. We can't hear you, Malik. Were you guys able to hear him? No, we still can't. We'll try to get Malik back. I don't even think my 2 cents on that series. I'm with you guys. Just hey man, they forcefully took control of that series. That was it. I think you just have to get them all the credit in the world for that. And Cardell, to your point, AT's been so close. And Brenda was asked about it a little bit today, talked about it. She was just talking about, always people are always mentioning like AT being an engine. And she was just talking about AT routinely has her teams like in contention. And once again, she's right at the door again, going back to that thing you were talking about, being a female Braun. Routinely, she has her team in contention. I mean, you got to give her all the credit in the world for that. Malik, we got you here. You back? Nah, we still can't. So we'll try to get him back. So I'm gonna ask you guys about this next series real quick. Man, they got game 5 tonight, 9:30 p.m. ESPN2. We saw the Fever take game 1, 90-83. Kind of put the Aces on their heels. I think they won that first game on the road, so shout out to Indiana for that. Then we saw the Aces respond, like we thought the Aces would respond. And then on the brink of elimination, Kelsey Mitchell with another 25 points. She's been steady, obviously, this entire season. Then Leah Boston had her biggest offensive output in the playoffs with a monstrous double-double, 24 points, 14 rebounds. She had 5 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. Odyssey Sims added 18 points as well. The Aces got 31 points and 9 rebounds from Asia. just wasn't enough. Jackie Young also had 18 points. The deciding Game 5 will be played tonight again, 9:30 p.m. ESPN2. Your thoughts on this series? Ray, we'll start with you and then Cardell. As we get to see who's going to be facing those Mercury that are awaiting their opponent for this year's WNBA Finals.
Yeah, man. Just like we talked about the last series, I think in this series, especially the last game, Game 4, the Fever just playing a little bit harder, and it showed in the result. They were playing with desperation, which allowed them to get that victory and get themselves another chance. They were quicker to lose balls. They got tie-ups and saved a lot of possessions that that could have went the Aces' way. They out rebounded them. Forced a lot of turnovers, and then on the offensive end, Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston, especially AB, she was aggressive from jump, and that's what I would like to see from her more often, because she's a lot to deal with, and and it gave the Fever a different look, and and let Kelsey Mitchell kind of work herself into the game, and it worked out for them. They got a Game 5 on the road in Vegas, like you said, Wilson. They pulled out Game 1, but we know that building is going to be rocking, and the Aces are they got championship experience, so it's going to be interesting to see, man. They got to get more consistent contributions across the board. This is tough for them because I think I said it before. What the Fever do well speak directly to what the Aces struggle with, and I think we've been seeing that play out this series. And they got to find a way to do something about Kelsey Mitchell. I know that's a tall task, but you can't let her go on a rampage, or it's not going to go well for you.
Cardell?
To me, as Shaq will put it, this is a series of the others. Every game, the team where the role players have stepped up and played well, they won. The stars, for the most part, been consistent. I know Asia had the down game, Aaliyah had the down game, here and there, but for the most part, they've been canceling each other out. Like even in Game 4, I know Asia had 31, but Aaliyah with the 24, 14, and 5, and the way she was taking it to Asia, you don't normally see. And it's like the little sister let big sister know, like, I'm tired of this. You ain't about to be punking me no more. Like it's that type of time. That's how they rumbling. And but the free throw difference was crazy. But who's the more aggressive team? Who's you get rewarded when you aggressive, man. Like it is when you pass it, you're not getting to the line, man. It is what it is. And the Fever, they led by Aaliyah. They we not going home tonight. I don't care how we do it. It's not happening. The Fever shot 26 of 34 in Game 4. The Aces shot 8 of 11. Now, I saw Asia's post game. She said, Aaliyah complained Game 3. So they made it right. They at home, what I'm saying? Things go right at home or whatnot. But she was just aggressive. And that's how they got to play. Now, with Game 5 being in Vegas, we're going to see if the rest allow them, just how much the rest allow them to be aggressive. You know what I mean? But I hope they just let them play. Let the players decide this game. Don't get involved with that. Control the game, but let the players decide that, man. You know what I mean? Because it's been a beautiful series, and Indiana, they're on the brink. This is the closest they've been since Tamika Catchings. You know what I mean? Was around the thing. So, it's going to be very interesting, man. Because I think the key in Game 5, outside of the others, I'm talking about the reserves and the role players in the starting lineup, outside of them having to show up and do their job. I'm not asking. Fine, if you have a monster game, great, but just do your job. Which where each team can afford is for you not to show up and then do or die game. You go on fishing, you go home. You know what I mean? But I think ultimately it's not even up to Kelsey unless she just go up for 40 or 50 somewhere. She just single-handedly win the game. we know the matchup that's going to decide this game. That's between Aaliyah and the Asian. Because if Asia dominates, it doesn't matter. It's over. But if Aaliyah does what she did in Game 4, it's a whole different ball game. And I think also when Aaliyah plays like that, the rest outside of Kelsey, because Kelsey gonna be Kelsey no matter what. I think the rest of the team feeds off of that. Because it's like you gotta understand who she's doing it to. It's like that's Asian. That's the best player in the game. That's a different animal. Oh, we gotta do our job. We really have no excuse now. And that's just how you feed off of it if you're the teammate. So that's the matchup. Now if Asia coming here like, yo, I'm the big sister for a reason. And she dropped like 30 and 20 on Aaliyah, and Aaliyah got like 10 and 4. I mean, it doesn't matter what everybody else do. Asia gonna win the game by herself. So, and we know she's fully capable of doing that. And we know that's the type of time she on because they ain't closed out in Game 4. So that's why I'm saying Aaliyah got to come with it. She got to come ready to play. You know what I mean? Because if Asia get to go on, have one of them, 10 to 15 point quarters, 4 or 5 rebounds in the first quarter, that it ain't gonna go well. So I'm excited to see how this goes, but it's been a beautiful series to watch, man, because it's required a lot of players to have to step up and make their impact for them to keep have the series go to a do or die Game 5.
Yeah, you brought up the point about the others. I think that's big for both sides. I think 2 players I'm looking at tonight to see how much they impact what happens for their respective teams. We've seen Lexi Hall, who's been amazing for the Fever. The games where she has, when the arrow's pointed all the way up, it's a really added boost for the Fever. For the Aces, Melissa Smith, when she's able to stay out of foul trouble, she gives the Fever problems, but she stays in foul trouble. So that's gonna be the big challenge for her tonight. She can stay out of foul trouble because that at times it's not just the high low, but just another capable big on the floor for Chelsea Gray to pass the ball to. For the Aces to have as an outlet at times goes a long way. It's just she picks up, I think she probably averaged like 4 or 5 fouls a game this series. And if you take the time to look at them, at least 3 of them a night are the silliest fouls in the world. But that's part of it, right? Like the silliest fouls. So, again, to your point about the others, those are 2 players. Definitely keep an eye on tonight. I know Indiana, I'm sure they have confidence knowing that they won a game in Vegas already for sure. And if you're Vegas, this is why it was important when you went on that crazy behind run to close the season, that if you have a game like this, it's in your building. It's up to you what you do with it, of course. So again, 9:30 tonight, we'll all be checking that out. Cardell, if we're talking about the WNBA finals on the horizon, usually means on the men's side of things are officially beginning. That's how we're officially about to hit October. You were at Media Day for the Washington Wizards this week, so I just want to give you some time to talk about that.
No, man, just a bunch of young dudes eager to show and prove. That's the vibe I got. Like they're ready to get to it. From the coaching staff all the way down to roster, a lot of the young guys kind of stayed in DC throughout the summer and put in work, stayed at the facility working, or they want to play in the international basketball like Keyshawn did for Canada over the summer, Alex did, Bilal did before he got hurt. They use that to build up for the season, and that's what it is, man. You just see a bunch of hungry young guys that not only are eager to show and prove, they're gonna have to show and prove because there's a lot of depth, especially at that wing position. So if you don't come with it, you will be weeded out when they be looking to move you really quick. You know what I mean? So they know what's at stake, but it's also it's a camaraderie that I was worried about may not be there with so many young guys still having to prove a lot in the league. And you saw that a lot of them. You just saw that they get along, man, and it's healthy competition. It's not toxic competition. Don't nobody got time for toxic competition, man. Where you just, you hoping on the downfall of your teammate, somebody you gonna have to rely on to go to war with. It's more so we gonna go at it behind closed doors to push each other to elevate our game. So when it's go time against opponents, we all gonna be ready to go, and we gonna have each other's back because we know we're ready to go. And it's that type of deal. Chris Middleton, CJ McCollum, consummate pros. They're already on the young guys, trying to school them, teach them the ways, so speed up that learning process. So this rebuild thing can start to warrant a playoff push this season. You know what I'm saying? Play-in push where you see progress. Light at the end of the tunnel. A lot of guys got taller. A lot of youngers got bigger. A lot of guys, added different dimensions to their skill set. Yeah, like I said, man, they just eager to play. That's what they're saying. They tired of beating up on each other because they pretty much been here throughout the summer, hooping, playing pickup and stuff like that, man. So I know CJ made a point about the young guys. He was like, these guys, I love the fact that they're gym rats, but they don't have hobbies, man. He's like, it's 82 games, man. Like, you got to find something else to do because now it's a job. I get it. Before you could go play basketball, it's a stress reliever, it's an escape. But now that it's a job, it'll burn you out. You'll go crazy if you don't have a hobby. He said he asked rookie Trey Johnson, like, what do you do outside of basketball? He's like, huh? He's like, no, like, what do you do for fun? He's just, I hoop. He's like, no, man, outside of hooping, what do you do? He's like, I don't have any hobbies. I just hoop. If I get bored, I just go hoop. And CJ was like, part of him was like, all right, that's great. You're a gym rat. But part of it was like, young fella, you got to do something. Do you play video games? You read books? Like, do you want to do radio? You got to do something, man, because it's 82 games. I know you think, like, you'll be fine, but trust me, it's going to hit you. You're going to be like, man, it's going to be crazy because everything that surrounds being an NBA player, having to play, 82 games, man. But Trey's a hooper, man. And everybody. I know Corey Kispert, who we know can scorch over with his jumper. Man, he said Trey just be shooting the nets off the rim. Like but we know he's my term for guys like that, professional scorers. They gonna put the ball in the basket no matter what, dog. It's like Cam Thomas up in Brooklyn. When Lou Williams was in the league, just guys that just get buckets, man. And it ain't no rhyme or reason. No matter who you put on them, they're going to score. And he's one of those, even as you could just see it, he got it in him. Like, I think with him, he's only going to need a couple games to kind of get adjusted, figure out the lead, the speed, and then, it's going to be on the pop. And like he said during media day, he's eager to see how much the speed and things change once training camp begins. You know what I'm saying? His first official training camp. So he's eager for that. One thing Bub did say was he went to check out the playoffs. And, you always hear that the playoffs is a different season. Everything is just amplified. And he said, yeah, he said it was a lot more physical. He said it was so much more faster. He said the mistakes you can make during a regular season and kind of get away with it, he said it will literally cost you the game. And if it costs you that game, it could cost you that series. Like, everything's just that much more important. Like he said, he was looking at certain players, was like, yo, that player wasn't moving like that throughout the regular season. What's going on? And he's like, oh, this playoff thing just different. It really is different. So I'm glad he got to see that. So now he understands, like, yeah, it's levels. It's levels, man. So you got to elevate it if you're trying to get the Wizards back to that point, man. So, look, man, just, for me, defense was talked about a lot. Being in tip-top shape, Kispert was like, we all got to get to a point, but specifically he was talking about himself, but he did talk about everybody else. We all got to get to the point where we defensively take pride and we dictate things. We hit the opposition first, the offensive player first, instead of letting the offensive players get us on our heels, and then we react. To say, in this league, when you react, you're done. And, also growing up as a team where, I'm all three of us can talk, and you can understand where I'm about to come from. They got up for the good teams or the big name players, the teams with the big name players. And then a lot of rebound teams come in here, and you like, they get blown out by 20 or 30. And we like, what the hell? What's wrong with y'all? And he said they got to be locked in and focused to be able to treat every team like how they should treat them. Like, yo, we here to win this game. Because when you don't, you end up like the lottery team. You disrespecting when you thinking you could just show up half-ass and think you're going to beat them. And, Kispert kind of, harped on that, man. But all in all, man, you outside Bilal, who hurt his thumb, I believe it was his shooting thumb. Are obviously playing in the what is Eurobasket over the summer, whatever, playing for France. Everybody's pretty much healthy for the most part, so they're just ready to get the preseason start, getting the preseason game started, and see where everybody's standing, and then they're ready to go. So, the vibe this year is totally different than the vibe last year. The vibe last year was just like, all right, man, what y'all got? But the vibe this year was more so excitement to get going. Let's go. Let's build off of what we ended the season on, which was the game winner from Bud in Miami.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to it as we see training camp open. Cardell got a lot of good stuff for Media Day, so you guys know where the Roku channel is. Get over there, get into the Wizards Outlook tab, and go check that out. There's 7 to 8 new videos in there from Media Day, so please go see all of those. All right, we're gonna play one of those videos here. Is Keyshawn George, his media availability. Put this up on the screen. You guys just let me know if you can hear it or not, and we'll deal with it in case there's any more technical difficulties.
Last year we talked about building habits, and I think being intentional with them. And I think I put that to the test this offseason with being here in Washington, just stacking days, 2 days, just every day, six days a week. And I think it showed a little bit during the America Cup to be able to apply what you work on in the offseason and be able to put it in life.
When we were in Las Vegas watching the Summer League, we saw an increased amount of physicality to your game. Have you added any weight, any size to yourself? And is that going to be a foundational part going into this year?
I started, hang my hat on physical defense and being able to bump players out their lines and, making them feel uncomfortable. And I think physicality has a lot to do with that. Lift a lot of weights, put on 4 pounds of lean muscle mass in the summer. And yeah, it's just the start of what I'm trying to build and the image I try to build myself.
Hey, Keyshawn, over here. What's up? So in Eurobasket, we saw some more on-ball scoring reps than we saw over here in Washington. Is that something you're prioritizing adding to your bag this year?
I'm just trying to be more aggressive in general, creative for myself, for my teammates. I know with my skill set, I'm able to do that. I'm just able to get in the paint and gain scoring opportunities for myself and my teammates. Trying to do it and be more aggressive in general.
Sure. And despite being just 21 years old, you're still older than like half of the roster on the regular season roster. Do you feel that, or do you still feel pretty green to the NBA?
I feel kind of in between. I definitely don't feel old at all. Just to make it, clear. But I definitely have a lot more to learn. So I would say I'm the younger side.
Hey, Keith. You mentioned being able to work on some certain things and then apply it at the America Cup. Outside of the on-the-court stuff, what did you learn about yourself as a player as you step into your second season?
I think I can hang myself on my habits and my consistency. Just a testament to myself, just being here in Washington, working on the offseason, doing 2 days like I mentioned before. I think it just shows that I'm ready to do this, and I learned about how consistent I am.
Last year with your defensive presence, we saw you take really good strides. What's that next step for you on the defensive end that you want to be able to be known for in this season as you continue to evolve your game defensively?
I think doing it night in and out, whoever I'm guarding has to be the same standard. A couple fouls, started a foul in the lottery beginning last year. Just learning, just continue to learn in general, and just making sure I take a step forward every time I step up.
Hey, Keyshawn, how you doing? We all know you're a very competitive guy. What's your reaction to hearing Will and Coach Keith talk about how there's going to be more competition for rotation roles this season?
It's fun. We have a young team, and I think that's what we're here for. To be able to compete at a high level in practice is only going to get us better. Whether if I'm guarding Trey, I'm making it tough on him, or if he's, making it tough on me on the offensive end, it's only going to get me better. I think that's how we grow as a team, as long as it's healthy and done with, a mind knowing that we're all teammates at the end of the day. I think it's just going to be fun and happy.
And what do you think will be key to you guys improving your efficiency as a team and specifically 3-point shooting?
Just being able to, like I said, create easy shots. Like we know, we like to shoot a lot of corner threes. The league likes to shoot a lot of corner threes. And just being able to be aggressive, get with the ball, move the ball easy once we get an advantage, and just get the ball to the open man.
Keyshawn, I know you had a very busy summer, I know, but when you came into the off season, were there one or two things you really wanted to work on trying to improve? How did you do that in the lab with your schedule? Who was there with you? Where were you? All that sort of thing.
So I noticed that in several opportunities I was getting in the paint last year and not necessarily knowing to do when I get there, being indecisive. So I really worked on just being more aggressive. Like I could create a shot for myself or easy one for my teammate once I get in the paint. So everything was working on bumps, getting the paint, getting aggressive to the ball in hand. I was working out here with the Wizards staff for most of the summer, since May. So yeah, I've been here working on that type of stuff.
When did you break off the camp with FIBA?
And that was in August.
That was in August. And it's hard once the season gets started because you got games, but how do you plan to continue working on that during the season?
Just by doing efficient work, not necessarily go out there and working out for an hour, 30 minutes, just being able to get in the gym, be really precise, really focused, really intentional with every single rep, and just being able to get the reps in, maybe a lower volume, but as intentional as possible.
All right, folks, that was Keyshawn George from Washington Wizards Media Day. Again, please head over to our Roku channel to check out many of his fellow teammates and what they had to say. But Cardell, appreciate that. And then obviously be a couple more times this week and next week as well, that we'll have more Wizards material, more Wizards content added to our channel as they make their way through training camp and, get some preseason games, all that good stuff with Wizards Outlook on the horizon. That said, Cardell, take it or leave it. Where do you want to get?
Take it or leave it, man. WNBA side, some heat came from the WNBA a couple hours before, we got on a show. Minnesota Lynx starting our exit interview, Nafisa Collier blasted WNBA leadership in her earlier today, accusing the league commissioner Kathy Engelberg of being negligent in her governance. Collier said the league has failed to sufficiently address issues with officiating, compensation for players, and the state of the overall product. She also alleged that Engelberg told her in a private conversation that superstar Caitlin Clark and other young stand-ups should be on their knees in gratitude for the platform the league has given them. Wilson, if you will, please play the audio.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate the Mercury for advancing to the finals. And I want to be clear, this conversation is not about winning or losing. It's about something much bigger. The real threat to our league isn't money, it isn't ratings, or even missed calls, or even physical play. It's the lack of accountability from the league office. Since I've been in the league, you've heard the constant concerns about officiating, and it has now reached levels of inconsistency that plague our sport and undermine the integrity in which it operates. Whether the league cares about the health of the players is one thing, but to also not care about the product we put on the floor is truly self-sabotage. Year after year, the only thing that remains consistent is the lack of accountability from our leaders. Sorry, I have a lucky in my boot, I'm kind of. The league has a buzzword that they've rolled out as talking points for the CBA as to why they can't pay the players what we're worth. That word is sustainability. But what's truly unsustainable is keeping a good product on the floor while allowing officials to lose control of games. Fans see it every night. Coaches, both winning and losing, point it out every night in pregame and postgame media. Yet leadership just issues fines and looks the other way. They ignore the issues that everyone inside the game is begging to be fixed. That is negligence. At Unrivaled this past February, I sat across from Kathy and asked how she planned to address the officiating issues in our league. Her response was, well, only the losers complain about the refs. I also asked how she planned to fix the fact that players like Caitlin, Angel, and Paige, who are clearly driving massive revenue for the league, are making so little for their first 4 years. Her response was, Caitlin should be grateful she makes $16 million off the court, because without the platform that the WNBA gives her, she wouldn't make anything. In that same conversation, she told me, Players should be on their knees thanking their lucky stars for the media rights deal that I got them. That's mentality driving our league from the top. We go to battle every day to protect a shield that doesn't value us. The league believes it succeeds despite its players, not because of them. I have the privilege of watching my husband run a league where he has to balance 100 different things at once. I won't pretend the job is easy, but even with all of that on his plate, he always takes the time to reach out to players when he sees an injury, whether it's unrivaled or even during the WNBA season. That is what leadership looks like. It's the human element. It's basic integrity, and it's the bare minimum any leader should embody. This year alone, I've gotten calls, texts, and well wishes from so many players across the league. Those moments remind me that sometimes there are things bigger than the results in this game we play. But do you know who I haven't heard from? Kathy. Not one call, not one text. Instead, the only outreach has come from her number 2, telling my agent that she doesn't believe physical play is contributing to injuries. That is infuriating, and it's the perfect example of the tone-deaf, dismissive approach that our leaders always seem to take. I've finally grown tired. For too long, I have tried to have these conversations in private, but it's clear there is no intention of accepting there's a problem. The league has made it clear it isn't about innovation, it isn't about collaboration, it's about control and power. I've earned this platform and I've paid the price to get here, and now I have a responsibility to speak on behalf of the fans and everyone in this league that deserves better. Our leadership's answer to being held accountable is to suppress everyone's voices by handing out fines. I'm not concerned about a fine. I'm concerned about the future of our sport. At some point, everyone deserves to hear the truth from someone who I hope has earned the benefit of the doubt to fight for what is right and fair for our athletes and our fans. We have the best players in the world. We have the best fans in the world. But right now, we have the worst leadership in the world. If I didn't know exactly what the job entailed, maybe I wouldn't feel this way. But unfortunately for them, I do. We serve a league that has shown they think championship coaches and Hall of Fame players are dispensable, and that's fine, it's professional sports. But I will not stand quietly by and allow different standards to be applied at the league level. Thank you.
All right, it was Napheesa Collier. As Cardell said, with first entry for Take It or Leave It. Had a couple comments with these. Go ahead.
I'll go ahead and do the comments, and I'll get a Kathy her response.
Okay. Anthony Tony, what's going on? Good seeing you as always. That's how we know it's Wizards time. Gentleman usually pops up to provide an interesting comment or two, man. It's good seeing you as well. He did have a comment about Fees, though. Shout out to Fee for not backing down and speaking up. Lynx got cheated out of the championship last season. A terrible injury took her out in the Phoenix series. Gerdo.
Yeah, Commissioner Engelberg responded right after Collier's comments, said she has the utmost respect for Collier and was disheartened by how her conversation with the Lynx star had been characterized. Quote, my focus remains on ensuring a bright future for the players in the WNBA, including collaborating on how we continue to elevate the game. I am disheartened by how Napheesa characterized our conversation and leadership. But even when our perspectives differ, my commitment to the players and to this work will not waver. Ray, man, we're going to start with you. A lot of heat today, but what are your thoughts on these comments, the timing of it, and Engelbert's response? First of all, do you take it or leave what Fee said?
I mean, I'm not in those rooms when she had those conversations, but given the passionate response, and it seems like a lot of players are echoing those sentiments. I got to take it because we know this league and these players have been devalued for a very long time. I don't think that's up for debate. But the last time we was talking about the CBA and where they stood with that maybe a few weeks ago, just trying to look at it from a business sense and trying to just kind of see where they can meet in the middle is one thing, but it just sounds like from Fee's comments, she feels devalued as a human being. She's out there sacrificing her body and putting a lot of time into her craft, and she doesn't feel like that same effort is being reciprocated to the people that are basically responsible for doing so. So at this point, on like whatever course the players feel they need to take, do what you got to do so you can sleep at night. You know, now that could go a certain way. That could that could be tough for a lot of players, but if they're in unison and they want to take that type of stand, then who am I to tell them to do anything different? But yeah, it definitely still feels like these two sides are miles apart in this whole discussion. As far as Kathy's response, you'd have been better off saying nothing, to be perfectly honest. Whatever, man. Like, I know you got to put out something, but like, she didn't even deny that she said this stuff, and to go that hard, like, you should be on your knees thanking your lucky stars. Like, wow, that's how you feel? Okay. But yeah, it's unfortunate that things are unfolding this way. But yeah, man, I think this gets a whole lot worse before it gets better. Hopefully, something miraculous happens and they get to get into a better space before the 31st. But yeah, given those comments by Fee, I think the space that the players are in is, y'all gotta start moving in good faith, man, and it's got to be a turn somewhere.
Wilson.
Yeah, since I saw it earlier, obviously been thinking about it a lot. I don't even know, like, if there was an option for it. Like, I'd take some of it, and the other part of it I'll leave it, because Ray talked about where this is headed. Like, that's the part of it that, like, I understand where they're coming from, and I get that part of it. I know for me, from an optics standpoint, right? And I understand how she prefaced it. It's not about winning or losing. But from an optics standpoint, just being honest, from an optics standpoint, if you're someone who doesn't follow the WNBA that much or what have you, right now you just know that somebody lost, and this is the next thing you're hearing from them. From an optics standpoint, this is what you're hearing. I know for me personally, if this is the action, obviously I don't feel like she did this on her own. To a degree, I'm sure some people are involved, and also some people, like, she's the same agent as Caitlin, so clearly the agent, I'm sure, made Caitlin aware before Caitlin's name was brought up, yada, 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 whatever. My biggest gripe with it, you have another month before that deadline hits. Let the finals happen, and then we get into all this or whatever. That's my biggest issue with all of it is we're not at the finals yet. Now, every player heading into possibly their first finals, it is officially a distraction for each and every one of those players. Basketball is going to be secondary to this. Since that happened, it's been secondary. I think someone asked Asia about it in pregame availability, which obviously, if you're a reporter, you're going to ask about it. But this was my biggest gripe for it is it's a pivotal game 5 or whatever, and this is something that's on the docket because this was said. And again, I know the fight they're in or what have you. Another thing that also happened today, again, just it's been a busy day. Versant announced media rights agreement to broadcast WNBA games. USA Network to present at least 50 WNBA regular season playoff games each year, as well as portions of WNBA semis and finals in select years beginning 2026. So that came out today underneath the two things, Cardell talked about. It's a really weird day news dump wise. We've talked about where this is going, the CBA negotiation several times on this show. I mean, before the midpoint of the season, I'm sure we talked about it. We talked a little bit afterwards. Talking about it here now. Again, my biggest gripe, wherever the next step in these negotiations were going to happen, because obviously they still have a month, I would have liked it to be after the finals, man. Like, I don't think it's fair to any of the players. I know people talk about we're seeing support from the players, yada, yada. All the players that you're seeing support from, they're not lacing them up trying to win a championship right now. Like, and yeah, you're not going to catch a player, if anybody on the Aces or the Fever that's going to say, anything opposite of that. But again, this is before the finals, man. This is before the finals. I don't understand that part of it. That's my biggest gripe with it. But go ahead, Carter.
Yeah, for me, we've all been on record, especially me over the years. Y'all know, the ladies deserve higher pay. They deserve more resources, better, facilities, so they can navigate being a professional athlete. That goes without saying. We've said this for years. I've been on board with that for years. But I agree with you, Wilson. That timing of this was was sloppy. I feel like fees, while she has some good points, especially if the commissioner said those things, that's worrisome. But also, that was an off wax conversation that should have stayed off wax. You gotta be professional. I feel like fees was being emotional and to a point self-serving, because her husband runs that other league and they're trying to put pressure on the league so they can get what they want during the CBA negotiations. Part of being in a leadership position is you got to put personal feelings to the side to do what's best for the whole. And yes, that could be tough, but that's what's required. Otherwise, you shouldn't be in that leadership position. Obviously, she's emotional. They just lost a playoff series, and they were top team all year, and they were eyeing the championship. They fell short again. She has another long off season of rehab due to the injury she sustained. To me, that wasn't a foul where Alyssa Thomas did. She went for the steal. It was just incidental contact. It happens in the game sometimes. It's sports. I think she's just frustrated with that on top of everything that's going on. But and you could tell she was. But if you're that emotional, you shouldn't be. You don't speak yet. You say, I'll get back to y'all another time when I calm down. Again, because you're in the leadership position. Let me ask y'all too. This being real. Would she had read that note if they were still playing? Let's be real. Do y'all think she would have had all that to say if they were still playing and in the finals?
No, I mean, I think she'd have, if she was going to do it, I think it would have been after her season was done.
That's why I say it's self-serving, because now you're taking the thunder away from these other ladies that's still playing. So when that's the part about being a leader. It's not about you and how you feel right now. It's about the whole. You see what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, yes. Obviously, we know they make good points and all that, but everything she read and the way she read and the timing of her reading it, how does it help the ladies in this negotiation? Because if your tactic is to try to put pressure on them through public opinion and stuff like that to get them to move, how has that helped with, the history of pro sports? How has that really changed things? To me, it just pisses the leagues off, and then they just double down even harder on things just to prove a point. You see what I'm saying? So I just feel like we all know the league is things they could do better, but I also feel like it's things that fees in this situation could have did better. Because all this little fake support on social media don't mean anything to powers that be in the league. To me, the reason why Kathy put that thing out is because people pissed off. Because she was like, yo, I thought that was all wax. So now, if the league start releasing things that they saying, oh, now that's not right? But this goes back to being professional, doing things the right way. You know what I mean? So, but I just feel like she was. It's other things that moved her like that, because normally fees don't move like that. She moves with professionalism at all times. So for her to just come out like that, and the Lynx been highly emotional all playoffs. You see what I'm saying? So, it's just this was a blow. This was strong, and for me, it's just like, okay, I just can't see it working out too well. Because now egos and feelings and emotion is involved now, where it was logic before. I think right now logic is all out the window because of the statements that have been made, man. I think it's just gonna be emotional and who can hit who the hardest right now. You know what I mean? And how does that accomplish anything? We talk about it on the fella side a few years back. A whole lot of players had a lot to say on podcasts and all that about how the league should do this, do that, and how the league respond. Tax havens. Now players barely eating unless you a top tier player, or teams can barely hold on to great teams that they built because they got to overpay to keep players and they can't afford to keep them. All of a sudden, you look around, you don't hear players talking as much no more. You don't hear them on these podcasts talking about the league as much no more. It seems like the message done got across, man. So I'm like, why have to go down this road? Learn from the mistakes of the fellas. You know what I mean? Like, learn from it. It's a way to get your point across and keep it professional and whatnot. I just feel like Pease was a little bit unprofessional in delivering. It's the timing of it. So now think about it. When the finals start, matter of fact, before the finals start, after tonight's game, what do you think the first question gonna be? First few questions gonna be. And that's just not right for the Aces and the Fever. When they trying to do or die game 5, they trying to fight to get to the finals. So to me, she wasn't keeping the league as a whole in mind. It was something with her. And that ain't right when you're in a leadership position. And that's my only point.
Yeah, like that's the, like I said, that's the part that bothers me the most is we're about to go into which probably going to be a great finals regardless of who wins tonight. And I just feel like this could have waited till after the finals, man. What you have next, Carter?
We're gonna end it on this, man. Sad story, sad situation, man. DMV legend, Lawrence Moten, Syracuse legend as well. Lawrence Moten passed away earlier today at 53. All-time leading scorer in Syracuse history, which is saying a lot. They've had many great players. We know about Melo, Pearl Washington, Derek Coleman, Ronnie Cycli, Sherman Douglas. Man, we can go on and on. Eton Thomas to play with the Wizards. They've had some all-time. Dave Bing, another legendary DC player that Ocean, most people probably don't even know, man. Another DMV legend. Same, like, so many great players that came through Syracuse, man. He's the all-time leading scorer and did it without being playing 5-6 years. Did it within 4. They call him Poetry and Moten, bro, because he wasn't the biggest, he wasn't the fastest, he wasn't the quickest. Then jumped the highest, man. You can put the ball in the basket, man. And that's what you get around here for sure. It's a lot of they're gonna find a way to put the ball in the basket, and he was one of the best that we've ever produced and ever came through Syracuse, man. Ever came through the Big East. Just sad that they found him passed away in his house, man. 2,334 points over 4 seasons from Syracuse from 91 to 95. His 1,405 points at Big East play was a conference record that stood until 2020. Hall of Famer Jim Boeheim, longtime Syracuse coach who recruited, and Coach Moten called it a tragic day for the Syracuse basketball family. Quote, Lawrence's passing is such a sudden thing, it's very hard to take. He was one of the most underrated college basketball players of all time. I believe some people took his ability for granted because he made it look so easy. Lawrence was one of our greatest players and one of the best in the history of the Big East Conference. Syracuse qualified for NCAA tournament 3 times for Moten, who had his number 21 jersey retired at a pregame ceremony March 3rd, 2018 to Carrier Dome. Current Syracuse head coach Adrian Archie. I can't think of anybody that was more positive or who loved Syracuse more than he did. Adrian Archie was also a teammate of Moten for 3 seasons at Syracuse and succeeded Boeheim, obviously, as coach in 2023. He was one of the greatest to put on the uniform. It's a big loss. I was able to play alongside him for 3 years and watch him do some amazing things. I was fortunate to spend time with him on and off the court. Orange Athletic Director John Wildak called Moten a Syracuse icon. Wilson, we're going to start with you, man. Just, share your thoughts on the legend, Lawrence Moten.
All right, so this is the funniest part about this. I didn't find out he was from this area until like 5 years after I moved down here. So grew up in Connecticut, right? I knew who Lawrence Moten was. That's the best part about this. It's obviously, the old Big East. There's no reason growing up UConn fans for me to like anything remotely Syracuse. Lawrence Moten is one of only 2 Syracuse players' jerseys I ever bothered my mom to get me a jersey of. It was him and it was Melo. Outside, those are the only 2 people that was the exceptions for I hate Syracuse with all my Husky heart. Those were the 2 exceptions of my life. I couldn't stand anything from that school. I still don't like You said Syracuse too many times for my liking today already, but I get it and it's okay because unfortunately they lost. Yeah, they lost an icon. Man. Dude was so freaking smooth with it. He was so not. He was so nice. I didn't care. It's the only orange thing I had, dude. Like he was that nice. He was so tough. It was easy. He was one of those guys where he was busting my team up, and I was like, I can't do nothing about that. Just don't let the other people do stuff. Like he's finna hurt me. It's okay. You just turn it on and accept that. He's gonna get on my nerves and I'm gonna be all right. But right, and to do that in 4 years in the actual Big East, not whatever it is now, not whatever, but there's levels to stuff. The actual Big East in all of its glory. Big East. Again, I go back to it's like, there's parts of Connecticut where a Yankee fan or a Red Sox fan, you just there's no and or, man. And throw the Mets in there too. You don't mess with it. Just you pick one, you die with it. That's it. You're there. Shout out to Lawrence Moulton, man. The game was it was such a pretty game. I couldn't even be mad when he was killing my team. I just really couldn't. But effortless score, man. Effortless score.
Right.
Yeah, man, just a tremendous loss for the area and really basketball as a whole. It's just another one of those guys I saw play a lot, coming up. He's obviously older than us, so he's one of those ones you look up to, just being around basketball in the area. And like Wilson said, man, being that dominant when the Big East was the Big East, it just simply speaks for itself. But yeah, man, it sucks. 53 is way too young. And yeah, man, just praying for his friends and family. Outside of basketball, just overall good dude, man. And interacting with him, just being in the area. Don't think I ever seen him without a smile on his face. And yeah, man, it's just we've been kind of taking some hits recently, man. We lost George Raveling not too long ago, and now Lawrence Moulton today. But yeah, just hope that his legacy continues to live on. It's good to see so many people speak so highly of him. But yeah, man, when I got the news today, it was just a shock. So yeah, man, just definitely praying for his loved ones, and hope that they're able to find peace at this time.
Yeah, man, he just was one of the ones growing up. When you look, I was more of a Maryland fan growing up than Georgetown. But obviously, we grew up in. It was ACC Big East. Period. It started there with college basketball. So you kept close ties and you kept a close eye on both conferences. Who was doing what from when you were a little shorty all the way up to, when I became a college prospect. Then you looking at all of that because it's a possibility you might get an opportunity to be having to deal with some of these guys you're looking at. So, but he was one. When I was a kid, one of the ones, man, that you had to watch. Like I always say, Keith Booth made me a Maryland fan, and Steve Francis became the blueprint for me. And then that's what made me a Maryland fan. But obviously, growing up in the area, you got love for Georgetown as well. I was a Maryland fan, can't stand nothing about Duke. So if you're rocking with Georgetown, you don't like Syracuse, but you had to watch Lawrence Moulton. It's like when the DMV guys go play for Duke, where y'all came out of high school. That's how I look at it. You know what I'm saying? So I can stomach you because I can't stand this. But with Moulton, the way he could score the ball, make it look so easy, man. And even being in Georgetown country and, them in the rivalry with Syracuse, you didn't look at it like he played for Syracuse. You look at it as like he's one of our own. You root for him to put up numbers, but you kind of root for Syracuse to lose in a sense, if that makes sense. So that's just how I went, man. And you made exception for the local guys because, look, out of all the jealousy, envy, and hate that come from the area, I like to say deep down, the area wants the area to succeed. Because if guys from our area, ladies too, the players that come from our area succeed, what does that do for our area? it strengthens the reputation of our area, and that's why our area is so respected around the globe as is. And players like Lawrence Moulton made that possible, man. Like the way he could score the ball, when they say it's like poetry moment, that's the perfect saying for his game. Like he made certain shots made it look easy, but it's not easy. It's not. You know, some of the shots he's hitting in his highlights, go try that with 6'7", 6'8" dudes on you, double team you, tripling team you. Because obviously he's Syracuse leading scorer, so he's drawing a lot of attention, and he was consistent. So probably a top 5 college scorer growing up that I saw. You know, him, the Iversons, like, you know, I got to throw Salim Stoudemire there, the way he could score the ball. Like, I'm talking about like dudes that could just get buckets, man. It was insane, man. So it just hurts to see him go so young, man. You know what I'm saying? Because the thing I hate about today, we kind of dismiss players that came before. We don't, but it's become cool to do that. But when they're gone, all the information, what they can offer is gone with them. And there's no getting that back. So that's why you got to appreciate it, because guess what? If, like, say, all right, man, he was good. If you want to say he was good for his time, I hear you. Why hasn't anyone duplicated his success then? Clearly, he was different. So he got answers to certain tests that other people don't have. Now you can't answer and get those answers because he's in a better place. And that's what you miss out on when you don't appreciate having accomplished, highly successful individuals around. You don't take advantage to ask some questions and you know, get game from them, man. You know what I'm saying? Because the way he scored the ball, it looked like he was playing pickup. I ain't gonna lie, dog. It looked like he was out there just in the open gym, just at the rack, out on the park playground, just hooping. But he was in a real live game in the Big East. That's why it was just cold the way he got it done, man. So if you a scorer, you visualize yourself growing up getting buckets and stuff like that. You want to get in there like Lawrence Moulton did. 3-level score, post up, range, transition. However you wanted to get scored on, he could do it. And you know, he delivered it, man. So, you know, man, you know, definitely rest in peace, man. We losing too many legends, man. All this gatekeeping stuff, that shouldn't need to go. So everybody can feel, you know, I'll say cool enough to just come back around the area and just give game and uplift the community more, man, like how it used to be before all the BS came involved.
Yeah, definitely a big loss for sure. We appreciate you guys for tuning in this week. We'll see y'all next week. We'll be talking about the WNBA Finals next week. We'll be talking about NBA preseason next week. That little window we had of peace is gone. You know, sports is officially back up and going. You know, we'll be sometime with the next month starts tomorrow. So, man, look, just time is moving. We'll see y'all next week. Appreciate y'all as always. Get over to thefocustv.com. And we'll see y'all next week, same time.